Just a minute. Can you go in the bathroom to eat this? You're kind of a loud cruncher. Come on. Come here. Come here in the bathroom. It's totally cool. Just go in there. It'll be all private. It's like a private dining room. Come on. No, I don't want you to help. Okay, now I'm gonna wash my hands again. Tonight I'm going to show you how to make vegan steaks. Now, this doesn't actually taste like beef, but it's delicious in its own right. TF and I are not vegans. We generally prefer vegan food at home, but we're not militant about it, and so we consider ourselves to be flexitarian. The difference is that when we go out to eat, we're invited to someone's home, or if it's our birthday and we want a lobster, we can do that. The more variety we can put into our diet, the better. I'm going to show you how to make vegan steaks tonight. For our steaks, we're going to need nutritional yeast, paprika, onion, vital wheat gluten, ground cumin, kosher salt, garlic powder, coriander, black pepper, vegetable broth, Dijon mustard, soy sauce, liquid smoke, and garbanzo beans. You'll also need either a tomato that's been stewed or some tomato paste. Typically you put this in a food processor, but I don't have a food processor, so we're going to use my bullet blender and then mix the rest of it by hand. So we'll start out adding our garbanzo beans and tomatoes. I need a 1/4 teaspoon of liquid smoke. If you don't have a food processor, don't worry. I'm MacGyver in the kitchen and I don't have a lot of things now that we live in a trailer. You can use a bullet blender or a regular blender or a potato masher, coffee bean grinder, anything that'll get the job done. I mix the wet ingredients first with the garbanzo beans, and that helps it to kind of make a thick malt-like paste, and then you can mix your dry ingredients in by hand. Okay, I'm adding nutritional yeast. Now the recipe calls for a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. I just kind of eyeball everything, but I'm a pretty good guesser. I also need a tablespoon of paprika. Now I need a teaspoon of garlic powder. Make sure it's powder and not salt. I also need a teaspoon of onion powder. This is cumin and it smells completely delicious. I think I'm going to be using this in a lot of recipes. I only need a 1/4 teaspoon of this. Next I have coriander, and I only need a 1/4 teaspoon of this as well. Coarse ground black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon. Kosher salt, 1/4 teaspoon. I like to mix all the wet ingredients first, and the tomato paste and my garbanzo beans. Then I put in the spices next. That way everything is really well mixed before I add any of the vital wheat gluten, which is basically like flour. Even though I don't measure, I figure a lot of other people do, so I will post the recipe with the amounts at the end. Now what I'm going to do is just complete mixing this with my hands. It's going to have about the consistency of cookie dough, but it smells like meat. You want to get the right shape to this. So this seems a little odd, but you're going to make this into a ball and push it down on a plate. Like that. Then take a large knife and just cut it into quarters. We want it to have kind of the illusion of a steak, since that's what it's representing. So we're going to make them kind of this fun little shape, and then I'm going to flatten it out a little bit with a spatula. If you've ever made tamales, this is going to seem vaguely familiar. We want to wrap each individual piece in tin foil and then steam it for 20 minutes. It's important to not mess with these too much. You can overknead it and it'll make it taste like a tough steak. So if you want it kind of tender and juicy, just barely mix it together and then go ahead and flatten it out. Okay, now we need to make the marinade. The best part of a steak is the marinade, and we really want to give it a savory, authentic taste. Now, you normally use a 1/4 cup of tomato paste, but I'm going to use actual tomatoes that I've stewed. You're also going to need a 1/4 cup of soy sauce. You need 1/8 of a teaspoon of liquid smoke and a teaspoon of paprika. Of course, no barbecue sauce is going to be sufficient without brown sugar, so we want 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Oh man, do you just love soy sauce? It makes everything absolutely delicious. Okay, our kitchen is nice and steamy now because I don't actually have a steamer basket. I had to make do and use my colander as a steamer. But I just put a large lid on it and put those in there in tin foil, and we've steamed it for 20 minutes. So now I'm going to take them out of the tin foil and put them in the frying pan. I'm also going to marinate them, and it's important for this step to use some kind of oil. If you want to maintain your vegan thing, make sure it's not an animal oil. So you can use canola, or I like olive oil because it has a really good flavor to it. You need to know that pretend meat does not fry the way regular meat does, so you are going to have to add some type of oil. The next step is to marinate my steaks. So I'm going to put them in this little pan and put the marinade over it. You can even let these sit overnight if you want to. It will give it a really amazing flavor. I've got my olive oil all heated up, and you can hear my potatoes cooking in the microwave because no steak is complete without a baked potato. What I'm going to do next is put the steaks in the pan and fry them on each side. And there isn't a specific amount of time because it varies by the thickness of your steak. And it isn't like you're going to get sick if you don't cook it all the way through. So the best way to tell when you're cooking vegetarian food is to look at the outside, and when it gets kind of brown and caramelized and it's that way on both sides, you're probably good to go. While we love butter, we also like Earth Balance, which is nut butter. It's a really good substitute. It's made of vegetable oil, flax and olive oil, salt. It's good stuff. So many questions. Why would we eat vegan food? Isn't it gross? Doesn't it cost a lot? Wouldn't you just rather have a steak? No. This actually is very good. There are amazing recipes that are vegan, and we feel that even substituting a vegan meal 1 or 2 nights a week makes a big difference. And that's what TF and I are about, is make a difference where you can. You don't have to be militant. You don't have to change your life, but you can make a small change. And small changes are often more sustainable than big, drastic, life-changing differences. So we enjoy eating vegan at home. This is something we actually prefer when we talk about what sounds good tonight. Well, we like baked meat. It's good.
Okay, I'm done filming for this episode. I want to eat.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.